And when the shot takes place, Raul comes running out down the hallway, and he's got the rifle in his hand. A couple of people saw him, but both of them said it wasn't Ray. He stuffs the rifle back into the box, and he's got a duffel bag there. And his duffel bag has some of his clothes from prison. It has a beer can with James's fingerprints on it, and it has a radio with a portable radio with James Earl Ray's Missouri State Prison number engraved in the back of it. And so he comes running out, and they want us to believe that Ray came running out and said, "Oh my goodness, I'll throw it in here. They'll never find it there." And that's where it's found next door at the arcade place. Well, the truth of what happened was that Ray left 10 minutes early when Raul, chased him away, but he didn't go down the street. He didn't stick up Jim's grill. He quietly and calmly got in the first Mustang. There are two of them there. He gets in the Mustang and drives away, and just as he said, and I believe it, that he went to try to get some tires changed on his car, and they were too busy on short notice. They couldn't tend to him. And when he came back, he saw all the commotion. It was 10 to 15 minutes after 6, and cops all over the place. Well, he's a prison escapee. He's not going to hang around there. So he kept going, and he went on Highway 61 into Mississippi and heard on the radio that Martin Luther King had been shot, and bingo, he put it all together. And this is why he became a fugitive, because he knew he was the new Oswald. So Green said then that the two guys, that Collier, the actual shooter, and Raul came running down the stairs. Raul expected James to be dead, expected his white Mustang to be there, and it wasn't. Butch's Mustang was there. So out of frustration, Raul says, "This is the hottest evidence on this planet. I got to get rid of it." He throws it in the doorway. He and Collier jump in Butch's car, and the rifle goes on the floorboard in the back of the Mustang. They go up the street. He lets Raul out a few blocks away, circles back around, and comes down 3rd Street to where Jim Green is on the rooftop. He's out in the parking lot now waiting for me. He picks up Green, and they cross the bridge of West Memphis and start to head back for Caruthersville, Missouri, in the boot heel. And James says, "Hold it, let's get rid of it." They had several guns in the trunk of the car. They emptied the trunk. He said they bet they were buried in the mud today if somebody would drag the river. They went down under the bridge on the Arkansas side and threw all these guns in the river. And then instead of taking the new I-55, which was just put in Arkansas at that time, they drove the back roads up 61 and to Caruthersville, and about halfway up there, Jim looks on the back seat. He sees this rifle back there. He says, "What the heck is this?" He said, "Oh my gosh." He said, "When I was in a hurry, that's where I threw it. I didn't put it in the trunk with the others." He said, "Well, that's the hot one. That's the one that did the job." And so Jim said, "Well, never mind. I know somebody will take care of it, and let's go on. We can't go back to the river now." And for 30-odd years, this man kept this gun for Jim Green. And I have a picture. I have a picture of him holding it on the cover of Media Bypass magazine back in about '01. I'm sorry I neglected to bring a copy with me, but I learned a lot of the inside details on that case from Jim. But he said that he had no doubt that Raul was an FBI man, and he had talked with him several times about various things. But those are the sorts of things that, number one, go on behind the scenes, and how? The power of legal tender. When you create money, you can do anything, just about anything you want. You can buy anything you want to have. Well, the Oklahoma City. We did a DVD recently on the Oklahoma City case. I have it out front. It's probably the most, little as it is, it's probably the most comprehensive thing ever done on the case in the OKC bombing, the forerunner to 9/11. And we got a whole lot of stuff on there in addition to the 2-hour video that was done. Ted Gunderson and I were, in fact, we got a little excerpt. Are you guys programmed and ready? I want you to see just a couple of minutes about Oklahoma City. Where's Justin? Right here. Oh, there you are. I thought it was back there. I'm glad you weren't a snake. This is an interview that Ted Gunderson and I did after the fact in about August of '95, when I was working on with Chuck Harder. I was his investigative journalist on the People's Radio, and so he sent me out there 6 different times that summer, and by August we decided we needed to do a video and on the case, and first interviewed Ted and some others. We flew to Las Vegas. We flew to one end of the country to the other. But Ted began to tell me about Michael Riconosciuto, and another former CIA operative named Ray we have on there. We don't even use his last name, but Ted said we need to go interview Riconosciuto because he had the alternative weapon, the super bomb, we called it, the pineapple bomb. It looked like a pineapple, and it could be fitted into an ashtray, the cylindrical ones you see sitting by elevators with the sand on the top. And it also has a delayed reaction. And Riconosciuto was in jail in the federal penitentiary because he had been set up on drugs. He was like a 30-year, he got a 30-year sentence, but he had been in the CIA since he was a teenager. And a very, very brilliant guy, but his expertise was in the demolition and super bombs and stuff that many of the people never heard of. In fact, General Ben Parton, who's also on here and one of my heroes when it came to exposing he had never heard of it. In fact, he doubted it existed. He said, I've never even heard of this. And I said, well, Ben, who says the CIA doesn't have a lot of things that you other experts haven't heard of? Well, I just want you to hear about 3 minutes of this before we go to lunch. And this is Michael Riconosciuto in the federal penitentiary in South Carolina being interviewed by Ted Gunderson and myself.
To do this kind of damage where there's a marked demarcation from Class A to Class C damage, in other words, total destruction, to moderate damage, it's just a technical impossibility. It would take a blast wave of extreme brisance or shattering power to do that kind of damage. It's obvious from the public reports that there were 2 separate blasts, and it's also obvious publicly that enhanced explosives are of a 2-stage or long induction type explosion. There are, however, certain details which are classified, and this type of knowledge is highly specialized, and your average person on the street, or even your average explosives engineer, would not be aware of this type of technology.
When was this bomb developed?
This bomb was developed in the late 70s through our company, Pyrotronics Corporation, which was a parent company of Hercules Research. And then we went into a joint venture with the Wackenhut Corporation. In order to demolish a building like that, a building that is designed for better than seismic zone 1 stresses, would take an immense amount of rigging, and you would have to actually drill the structural members to plant the charges.
Is this bomb, the barometric bomb, a directional bomb?
Yes, the blast dispersion can be precisely controlled. It can be omnidirectional, or it can be very directional in a less than 15-degree fan if it's detonated that way.
Michael, assuming that the building was drilled and wired, could it have been done from closing time on Tuesday night before 9 o'clock in the morning Wednesday?
Absolutely not. It would have taken days to prep a building like that.